Facebook, Instagram land. This is Fawn Towery coming to you from Napa Acupuncture Practice. We have had some requests for people who are craving sugar. So I don't know if any of you out there are craving sugar, but I know that's something several people have talked about that they're struggling with. So today's topic is the spleen. So in Chinese medicine, the spleen is in charge of your daily energy. And the emotion for the spleen is worry. So a lot of us are experiencing low daily energy, trouble focusing, and craving sugar. So that's all stuff that tells me we need to love on our spleen. So the spleen is in charge of daily energy, and when it's struggling, you crave sugar. So the color for the spleen in Chinese medicine is yellow. So frequently patients say, how can I help my spleen? And I say, eating yellow foods. So yellow squash, pumpkin, yellow orangey kind of foods, like crooked neck squash would be good. Sweet potatoes, I'm forever trying to get people to eat sweet potatoes because it also naturally has sugar in it. So it satisfies your craving for sugar, but it doesn't actually, it helps to balance out your glycemic levels. So those are good foods you can eat. The flavor for the spleen is sweet. So if you're craving sugar, the way your spleen wants you to satisfy that is through eating sugar. But eating conventional, like white table sugar, is not what it wants. It wants, quote, the sweetness of a grain of rice, which I think is funny because most of us don't think of rice as being sweet, but it is. So it's not actually eating sugar, it's eating foods that help to support your spleen that have some natural sugar, like carrots too. So the enemy of the spleen is dampness. So dampness is caused by alcohol and by dairy and by sugar. So that's the fine line, is the things that are helping us to cope. Like a lot of people are using alcohol or eating too much sugar, they're actually injuring the spleen. So that's why if you can come up with another way of doing it, like eating sweet potatoes to satisfy your craving for sweet, you'll feel a lot better in the long run. The emotion for the spleen is worry, and that's something I think a lot of us are struggling with. There's so much that's unknown at this point in time, and there's so much that's changing every day. What was true last week is not true today. What was true this morning isn't necessarily true now, and I think that's really hard for people, especially because we don't have a sense of control. So worry is another thing that is affected by the spleen. So other than eating, other things we can do to help nourish the spleen, in addition to avoiding sugar and dairy, are acupressure points. So the acupressure channel for the spleen starts on the lateral side of the big toe. So it's right there on good old Adam on the corner of the nail. And then it goes up the inside of the foot, through the bone on the inside, which is called the medial malleolus, and then it runs up through here. And this is another point that I want all of us to look at. Maybe it's easier to see on this side of Adam. So it starts on the big toe, and then it runs down all the way up through that bone, front side of the bone, and then it goes up like this, and then it wraps around the front here. And then it keeps going up. Oh, sorry, Adam's clothing. It's needing an adjustment. And then it keeps coming up here. And then it goes way up here. And then it ends on the side of the body, which you can't see because of his arm. So the points I want to do on the spleen channel are on the leg. So if you put your... Here, I think the easiest way to do this is to show you all. So I'm going to adjust the angle of the camera. So, can you see my foot? See this bone on the inside of my foot? So, one finger's breadth above is where the spleen 6 channel is, right there. So that is a really good point for helping with digestion. It's really good at treating menstrual cramping, menstrual pain. Doing it on the Left side will help with menopausal issues if you're feeling hot. It's good for nourishing the yin, which is another thing that if you're yin deficient, you can have heat at nighttime. So the other point for the spleen is on the medial side of your knee. So there's a bone right there. Here, I'll show you. It's on my knee. You can see right here on the inside of the knee where the bone just curves a little bit, right there. That's the point. And even if you just feel around, you'll notice something that's sore. And if it's a little further back, if it's a little forward, a little up, or a little down, anything around there that's sore is a good point. So that's spleen 9. That's another one that's really good for helping to get rid of dampness, which is what upsets the spleen, and it is also good for helping with energy. So those are my favorite spleen points. There's lots of other good spleen points, but those are the easiest to find. And then anywhere on that line between spleen 6 and spleen 9, the one that we found by putting your hand and then going on the inside of the bone, anywhere between that line and the point up above at your knee is the same spleen channel. So that would be really good to push on any of those points. So the last thing I want to talk about with the spleen is that the sound of the spleen is singing. So I don't know if any of you like to sing, but singing would be really good. It's also good for the lungs, right? And we're all working on helping to strengthen our lungs. So there's different breathing exercises you can do. You can do some meditating, which will force you to work on breathing, focusing on your breath while you're meditating, which would be really good as well. And then the other thing is that the spleen is the earth element. And what better way to do it than to work in the earth and to be touching the earth, which is gardening. So if you wanna, if it's warm enough for you to take off your shoes, put your feet on the grass, get your feet in the earth, or if you're able to garden, to be able to touch the dirt, to touch the plants, that's the earth element. So those are my tips for helping to nourish your spleen. So you're gonna avoid sugar and dairy and alcohol, and you're gonna eat some sweet potatoes and squashes and see how you do. I don't think we've gotten any questions, but I'm so glad to see all of you joining with me. I think that's all. I don't see anybody have any questions, but it's so good to see you all. I'm so glad that you all join with me and that you're able to watch the videos because I miss you all. And if you have any requests for upcoming videos, I think we've had some requests for insomnia and for like feeling powerlessness kind of thing. So I think I'll do a tapping video on the powerlessness and feeling stuck, and then we'll do an acupressure video on insomnia. So stay tuned, and if you have any other suggestions or topics of things you want us to work on, let us know. Thank you. Bye, guys.